General Barry McCaffrey is obviously a former general in the military. He was also the former drug czar. He's an analyst for NBC News, and he also works for a great many defense contractors. There was a great article in the New York Times for which the writer won a Pulitzer Prize. It was David Barstow, and he did a two-part series about how there's these military analysts that work for defense contractors that then go on television, are not identified as working for defense contractors, and that continually promote war. And Barry McCaffrey was featured in that article. And I remember one of my favorite parts of that was when they pointed out that McCaffrey went on air and talked about how we were winning the Iraq war because of the Abrams tank. And he said, you know, God bless the Abrams tank. It turns out he works for the company that makes the Abrams tank. Okay, not surprising. So what we just found out is, through a leak, that Barry McCaffrey gathered some of the top executives at NBC News and did a presentation for them about how we are about to go to war with Iran. Now, what he's presenting, is it really what the military thinks? What the intelligence community thinks? Who knows? Is it what the defense contractors want the media to think? That might also be true. Now, here's what we know. Defense contractors, before Iraq and Afghanistan, their profits were at about $6 billion. After those two wars, their profits were at $24 billion. Not talking about revenue, we're talking about profits. Now, $18 billion in profits, that's extra because of those wars. That can motivate some people, right? And they pay these people like General McCaffrey really, really well. So, what did the memo that he presented to these NBC News executives say? Well, that's very interesting. So first of all, it was titled, Iran and the Gulf Creeping Toward War. Now, he wants NBC News to think, oh my God, we're going towards war, we're going towards war. And it's, in fact, Iran that's pushing us in that direction, according to this memo, which then you go, okay, well, that's comical. Because we're the ones that are threatening to bomb them. We're the ones that are doing the sanctions on them. To say that Iran is being aggressive here is ridiculous. It's totally counterfactual. So that immediately makes me think, well, you know what, this guy's not on the level. In fact, the first line of the memo is, quote, in my judgment, we are now in a high-risk situation in the Gulf with a significant probability of Iranian escalation in the coming 90 days. So it's the Iranians that are doing it, and tell everybody in the country, oh my God, it's coming, it's coming. And it's going to be happening in 90 days. Look, if he said we were going to attack them in 90 days, I'd say, my God, maybe he knows something and I'm worried about that. If he says Iran is going to attack us in 90 days, that's just nothing but propaganda. There's no way that's true, okay? Iran right now is going back to the bargaining table and taking off the preconditions that they asked for because the sanctions are hurting them. And they don't want to go to war. They get destroyed in war. All those lab coats and everything are so that they can say, oh, don't attack because you never know, we could be dangerous. So now what does he think about their nuclear capability? Of course, he's got to put that in there to scare the bejesus out of these guys so they can go scare the American public. Quote, Iran will have a nuclear capability of 12 weapons within 60 months with the missile and fighter delivery systems required to strike targets in Israel, the GCC states, and the regional U.S. military forces. Now that sounds bad, like, oh my God, they're about to have the weapon, they might hit Israel in 60 months, it's a matter of months. You know what 60 months is? It's 5 years. It's interesting that they put it in terms of months, right? So you're telling me that they might have weapons in 5 years, and they're going to attack in 90 days? With what? Their slippers? Why, if they're not going to have a nuclear weapon for 5 years, why would they attack in 90 days? If they need 5 years to build a weapon, why would they escalate in 90 days? That makes no sense. And why are you telling us that this is creeping towards war and it's imminent if they're not even going to develop the weapon for 5 years according to your own estimation here? The whole memo is about, oh my God, it's coming, oh, the war, Iran, they're so dangerous. But slip in there, oh yeah, maybe it happens in 5 years, maybe it doesn't. And then at the end, something that even others have not drawn attention to, Glenn Greenwald's done a great job of exposing this at Salon. He mentioned this just in passing, but I thought this was the most striking part. Towards the end of the memo, it says, quote, the Israelis lack any credible conventional military power to counter the Iranian nuclear threat. Their forced option would be a preemptive nuclear strike. You didn't read that wrong. Nuclear strike. So because the Iranians might develop a nuclear weapon 5 years from now, we would have to do, our allies would have to be forced into a preemptive nuclear strike. How crazy is that? Why is this not front page news in every paper? Why is every TV station not talking about this? In fact, none of them will talk about it. Because no, Barry McCaffrey's an honorable man. Oh yeah, he makes millions of dollars from defense contractors who make billions of dollars off of war. But no, you could never question General Barry McCaffrey. You could never question any of these people. No. We have to protect our own. We protect the media. We protect our media analysts. So, this is a reality. We have the memo. There's no question about it. But the rest of the media will likely bury it. But think about the absurdity of that last sentence. Since we're afraid they might one day have nuclear weapons, we have to drop a nuke on them. Who are the aggressors? What have we become? If Israel drops a nuclear weapon on Iran, when they don't even possess a nuclear weapon, let alone have any intention of ever using it, that is an aggressive war, an aggressive nuclear strike that breaks every international law there is, would be the most profound war crime you could ever imagine. And if we got into that middle of that war, I guarantee you the U.S. would be on their side. And even Barry McCaffrey in this memo talks about, hey, you know what? They have a lot of mines in Iran, and they're actually pretty good at it, and they have some hidden subs. Instead of, we used to hear about Saddam subs too. I don't know where they went when the war started. Magically all disappeared. Anyway, he says, well, the Strait of Hormuz is really narrow. If they happen to, if some of those mines hit our ships and one of our ships go down, well, then we would definitely have all-out war. I didn't see that as a warning. Unfortunately, I saw that as a blueprint. And that's exactly what I warned you about before. The minute we get into hostilities there, if they hit one of our ships, and God forbid something happens to one of our ships, what are we going to do? We're not going to go to all-out war with Iran? Of course we are. Look at McCaffrey's memo. He confirms it. Of course we are. And General McCaffrey's employers are going to love it. They're going to be ecstatic because they're going to make billions off of it. And maybe there's a couple of nuclear strikes along the way. Maybe another couple of 100,000 civilians die like they did in Iraq. Maybe our guys on those ships die. There's money to be made, man. This is an esteemed former general, military analyst for the news. NBC News should be embarrassed.